You can imagine that also the Nurburgring kind of attracts people who have, let's say, above average budgets as in terms of car purchases. I also have this little, let's say, side business. It's more like a hobby, but let's call it a business as well. Not related to the Drivers Club of Atlanta at all, but it's called the Drive Club. Now, what we do there is we kind of store cars for people near the Nurburgring and do like a concierge service for them. So we kind of do the maintenance on the cars. We ship them to wherever they need to go, all the racetracks in Europe. Now, a few years ago, this was before we invented this Drivers Club thing, we just did some car storage. And we had a group of people from Scandinavia, and they had like a variety of cars. I think the cheapest car that they had was at the time an E92 M3, and it went up to like, well, AMG GTRs, Black Series even. All of the supercars you can think of, actually. We came up with this stupid, silly idea of shipping them to racetracks in Spain, which was a fantastic winter event for us because in Germany, especially around the Nurburgring, in the winter we have snow. So the track is closed, there is nothing to do. The only reasonable thing to do is to simply drive down to Spain, south of Spain preferably, and you can do some racetracks there as well. So 20 of our group, 20 people, decided to, you know what, let's simply hire a few trucks, put all our supercars on there, and ship them to Spain, spend like 3 months in Spain, drive racetracks, have some fun in the winter. Sounds like a solid plan. Now, shipping about 40 to 50 cars, which is owned by 20 people, to the south of Spain from Germany is a very costly thing to do, considering that those truckers need to be insured. The value of the cars is in the millions now, so you want to do everything correctly, right? Now, where do you start with this? Because in Europe, it's not like in the US. There is no real companies that you can call up and say, hey, I have like 3-4 million worth of supercars. Can you quickly drive them like 2,500 kilometers across Europe? We got a contact from a Polish guy, and he said, hey, there is a company in Finland, and they kind of source out these logistics. So contact them and they will take care of you. So we had this McLaren 720S from one of our customers, and he kind of was friends with the shipping company in Finland that did all these supercar transports. So get in touch with him, made us a quote, and he says, yeah, I can do the transport of all the cars. I said, let's do it. Price was fine. It was very expensive, but you know, everybody was spending a lot of money in those few months anyway, so the transport was like a minor thing on the total cost, let's say. 3 weeks before the cars had to leave, he gives us a call and he says, I'm really sorry, but my company went bust. I can't do it anymore. But I have this guy, and I'm gonna call him now Pavlov from Poland, and he can do the shipping of your cars. He's legit. He's also insured. He can do whatever you wish. Close transport, open transport, whatever. So I said, fantastic. Let's call Pavlov then. I call Pavlov, and Pavlov seems dodgy. He's like instantly dodgy. But, you know, he's a friend of an actual customer of ours, so let's try, right? Now, Pavlov let us down because I knew he was dodgy, and he came up with prices which were so low that it was unbelievable to have an insured transport. I think it's the same here. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So we kind of said, you know what, let's all take care of our own cars. Let's ship them one by one, arrange your own transport, because I don't want to be responsible for 3 to 4 million euros worth of cars shipping to Spain. One of my very good friends, actually, and a good customer of me, he calls me up and he says, hey, Ray, this guy's going to come and pick up my McLaren, and he's going to bring it to Spain. All is fine. This is his phone number. This is the company he works for. I arranged everything. So I have all these details. A few days later, truck comes exactly with the logo and the name on that the guy described. All was fantastic. The guy doesn't speak English, nor German, nor any other language that I can speak, and I can do actually 4. And he comes to pick up this McLaren. So I kind of double check to make sure it's the guy and everything, because I mean a 720S was at the time also a few $100,000, so all seemed legit. So I kind of drive the car out of our unit, car goes on the trailer, car is gone. A week later I get a phone call from the owner, and he says, Ray, was my McLaren picked up? Because the logistic company calls me and they said there was nobody there. And I said, well, remember last week when the car got picked up, I actually called you to ask if it was the same person. He said, oh, I understood that he wasn't there yet, but you wanted to verify who the company was. I said, no, the guy was here. He says, well, we might have an issue then, because the transport company called me and said they were there yesterday evening and nobody was there. So turns out that that company wasn't really the transport company who picked up the car. The scam that happens in Europe sometimes is there is these websites, and it's called like findatrailer.com or whatever it is. And they will simply, you can type in, you say, I want my car from A to B, and they will simply send out this to logistic companies. And then you'll see everybody jumping in and making bids on it. And the cheapest offer then comes up on the top and says, oh, company X can do transport for a couple €100. So that's how we actually sourced that company, which I didn't know at the time, because then I would have told them, dude, don't do it. It's a scam, right? Turns out that that offer was been sent to everybody, to all these transport companies, and there is a few dodgy people in there. And what they do is they know now the location of the car. They know where the car needs to go to. They know which car it is. So they kind of have all the data to go there randomly, to pretend to be the transport company. And sometimes it might work, as it did in this time. So I literally gave the car to a transport company that wasn't a transport company, but that was listed on that website of transport companies. Obviously, the car is gone, so we have a big issue. The real transport company can prove that they really didn't pick up the car. So now we need to find the car. This is a big issue in Europe because we have something called data protection laws, especially in Germany. So I phoned up the police and I said, listen, this is what happened. We only found out now, but it's already a week gone. So the car is already gone since forever. It hasn't arrived at its destination in Spain. What can we do? And the local government obviously tells me, well, not much. So you're on your own on this one. The owner of the car, he goes to his insurance and he says, listen, my car is stolen. Probably never going to see the car back. So can I claim this on my insurance? The insurance company obviously asks, so how was the car stolen? Now you have the option to either tell a lie or to say, well, we kind of gave the car to the thief, right? So that's what he ended up doing. So no insurance, obviously. But then we got a golden tip from somebody. I did some research, we did some Googling, also the owner of the car, who was not angry at all at me for giving it to the wrong person, because he kind of verified that it was the person. So we get a tip from a friend of a friend again, and he says, you know what, this company is actually a legit transport company, but what happened is they had a time where they had certain people working for them who were running these scams. The real scam now is where you have your, I'm going to say it now carefully, Eastern European people getting a job as a truck driver with logistical companies who do car transport. They find out, working for that company, which cars they need to be picked up. They kind of make the logo and the name of the company on their own trucks, then drive to that customer, pick up the car, and it all seems legit. They take the car and never see it again. That's how it actually works. Or it's a relative or a friend or whatever, but they simply know the data. One friend of me and from the owner of the car used to work for that company, and they had actually a list of all the truck drivers working for them. So they found out that there was a guy working for them, and they also found out that like a few days after the McLaren got stolen, quit his job. So the first thing to do is, let's go find this guy, right? He lived at the time in Bulgaria. When they found him, they also found the car actually. It was a very quick, right, we know who the driver was, we know he worked for us, so now we found the car. All seems too good to be true and too easy to handle this, right? But that's actually how it worked out. So when the Bulgarian police went to the guy and caught him, they also found that he owned a warehouse or rented a warehouse, and there was like 17 stolen supercars in there. One of them, which to be a GT2 RS that was stolen at the Nurburg Ring a week prior to the McLaren got taken off of us. Which is another very interesting thing how that happened. So we have this, we call it the Ferium Park. It's like this holiday home thingy at the Nurburgring. It's like all small holiday homes, and people rent a house there for like the weekend or the weekend. You can hang out there. It sleeps like 8 people per house, so it's perfect for like a man's holiday. One guy had his GT2 RS parked there and got stolen overnight. Now, to steal a GT2 RS, it's not the easiest thing to do. Also, the fact that it was blocked in by 3 or 4 other cars, right? But that got stolen. Everybody knew immediately, well, this is an unbelievable car theft. knowing how the car was parked, and it was so blocked in, it's like impossible to get it out there without making too much noise or anything actually. So they found that same car, the GT2 RS, with the same guy who took the McLaren from us, right? His real job was he was actually doing insurance scams. So people would get their car stolen, claim it on the insurance. That was his actual job, stealing cars for people, but for the owners of the cars actually. So and that was the case with that GT2 RS, and that all got solved, that case actually, which we didn't know, by stealing the wrong McLaren actually. And then the guy got caught for 17 other car thefts of all 17 supercars, which most of them were actually owners of the supercars, hiring him to steal the cars to claim money from the insurance. And that's how European car theft actually works.
This month of VINwiki Car Stories is brought to you by Bridgestone, and the most exciting news out of Bridgestone is the brand new release of their Alenza Prestige tire. The Alenza Prestige highway tire is for drivers who want a long-lasting, elegant, and comfortable ride without compromising at all on wet weather performance. Amazing tire that features their next generation Enlighten technology, as well as their Quiet Track technology, an in-groove feature designed to reduce tread pattern noise combined with a wide center rib that helps to deliver a whisper-quiet ride with comfortable and responsive handling. So check them out now at the link in the description below to learn more about the Alenza Prestige tires from Bridgestone and the entire Bridgestone family of products.